Thanks, and I just want to say thanks to the organisers for putting this event together. It's great to be here. Also, I'd like to acknowledge fellow candidates. You know, we obviously have some pretty different points of view and different ways of approaching things, but it is great to have people who are so passionate about our city all here together. And it is interesting. I was talking to some people who run in other kinds of elections who couldn't believe how many Meet the Candidates debates we have in Lambton. It's wonderful. It's a great way to actually get to talk to people and discuss some of our ideas. It's also great to hear each other's speeches, and I reckon by Monday we will be able to actually take turns delivering each other's. It's going to be really good. It's interesting having a combined Mount Vic, Mount Cook meeting, because whilst they're both quite strong communities, there are some very different issues facing them. Mount Vic carries far more than its weight of Wellington's transport, and this is something that we have to acknowledge, and I'll make some firm comments on that shortly, and I think there'll be some questions, I'm sure. In Mount Cook, it has two large education institutions, and there's a lot of challenges that come to Mount Cook from that. There's also major infrastructure challenges facing both, and also some opportunities. It's great to be here at the new Crossways. I haven't been here before. I remember a number of events at the old Crossways. It is sad that it's gone. Also highlights the point that Mount Cook doesn't have a facility like this, and this is actually something that the council needs to deliver. We need to have a community centre in Mount Cook. Anyway, I shouldn't be telling you about your communities. I'll tell you a little bit about me, and then we'll move on to some policy ideas. Like a couple of the other candidates, I was born in Christchurch. My accent might be a little bit misleading on that, but I was born in Christchurch. My parents were a probation officer and a teacher. We moved around a lot. I spent a number of years in Lower Hutt, Tokoroa, a few years in Brisbane, which I had to blame for the accent, and then I've been back in Wellington for the last 11 years. And it was a day in 1999 when I was walking around the waterfront that I realised that this was where I belong, and I just had a moment walking along that waterfront and realised that this is where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. I love the city, and I want to work to make it a bit better. My background, I'm a lawyer by training, which some of you might hold against me, but I've spent the last 10 years working in central government, the last 2 years working in Parliament. The previous 3 years I spent working for Michael Cullen, negotiating on a day-to-day basis for support for legislation. I think that experience of working with people with different interests and trying to pull together some common views, work out what could be done, will be useful if I'm lucky enough to be elected as one of your representatives on this council. I got into this campaign because I think, whilst I love the city, whilst there's so much that's good about it, there are some things that we can do better. One of the things I find really frustrating, and it might seem like a small thing, but I'm going to talk about it, and I fellow candidates will hear about it time and time again, is that we need to promote walking and cycling in the city. We actually have a great city for walking around, but we always see walking and cycling as secondary issues, not things that need to be taken seriously. We've got a World Cup coming up. You know, I'm not so convinced that we need a big statue. I'd much rather have a safe, dry walking route from the stadium to Courtney Place, so that we can have people getting around our city safely, without needing taxis and buses, actually going to walk in our beautiful city. I've told the other candidates, sorry to bore you again, but I had to walk to the ferry terminal the other day on Friday, and it's just absolutely ridiculous that we can't walk from the railway station to the ferry terminal. It doesn't make sense. Now, that's not just the council's issue, that's an issue with Centreport, but the council needs to be pushing on that. We need to fix that. We need to be able to walk along our waterfront. That's important for us as Wellingtonians. I've got some other issues that I'd like to raise. Like John Bishop, I was glad to hear him talk about artificial pictures. He and I are actually almost identical in our position. He says more and sooner, I say more and more quickly. I think if you look at the Turf for Wellington site, you'd be hard-pressed to see any difference between our position there, and that's great. I also acknowledge my good friend Paul Eagle, the candidate in Southern Ward, who's also been a strong advocate for more artificial pictures. And you know, one of the important things there is that it's the kids' games that get cancelled to preserve the pitches for the top-level games. Let's get on, build it. The council has got a plan. It's not going quickly enough. There are not enough of them. Let's get on with it. I also think there's some ways we can actually reduce some of the costs to the council. We've got a fantastic open source software community in the city. They actually write some world-beating software. I've talked to them. They say it's actually the turnover work, the service work, that allows them to do the innovation. Let's stop paying the $3.2 million a year in software licensing fees to Microsoft. You know, Bill Gates doesn't need the money. Let's invest in our local community and actually help support that innovation. On the I'm running out of time very quickly. I'll make a couple of clear points on transport. Opposed to the flyover. With the tunnel, I'm really excited by this idea coming out of the Mount Vic community that we could turn the pilot tunnel into a walking cycling route, and that may stop us needing to have a second tunnel. Hey, let's explore that. That should be our #1 opportunity.
Time.